Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we cut through the noise, take a stack of news sources, and really figure out what matters. Today we're looking at a specific snapshot, a U.S. news update from September 19th, 2025. It was quite a day.
It really was. This stack shows us a few big things hitting at once. You've got this urgent political deadline looming stateside. Then there's this major clash between the president and the media, and at the same time, key diplomatic stuff happening overseas.
Right. And our goal here isn't just to read you the headlines. We want to get into the why. What are the real implications? What should you be watching for next? So let's dive straight in with the most immediate issue from that day. The government funding situation. It sounds like things got, well, heated.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. What the sources make clear is that the U.S. Senate voted down a temporary funding bill, and that single vote, well, it ramps up the pressure immediately.
Rejected it, just like that.
Yeah.
So the basic job of keeping the government funded hit a wall. And for anyone watching the calendar, this means the chance of a government shutdown just went way up, right?
Exactly. A big jump in risk. This bill they rejected, it was likely what's called a continuing resolution, a CR. It's basically a stopgap measure. Congress uses them to, keep things running when they can't agree on the full budget by the end of the fiscal year.
Which is September 30th. That's the magic date, or maybe the cursed date here.
Precisely. Midnight, September 30th. Miss that, and parts of the government start shutting down.
The fact the CR failed, it probably means there was something controversial attached, like a spending rule one side just couldn't swallow. A poison pill, they call it.
Okay, so when a bill like this fails, is it just political posturing, or is this like a genuine breakdown? What happens now? They can't just stop trying, can they?
Well, according to the sources, the plan is interesting. They're expected to try again, but they're waiting until September 29th.
The day before the deadline. Seriously.
Yep, just 24 hours out. And that delay, it's almost certainly strategic. It dials the pressure way up, forces everyone to vote with the shutdown threat hanging right over their heads, maximum leverage. So that failure on the 19th basically guarantees a showdown on the 29th. The chaos is baked in. And for you listening, that September 29th vote becomes the moment to watch. Everything hinges on it.
It really does. It becomes this incredibly high-stakes vote where every little detail matters so much more because there's just no time left to negotiate. It's Congress playing a game of chicken, basically, with government operations.
Okay, let's pause on that domestic mess for a second, because while Congress is gridlocked, the president isn't even there. Let's shift gears to another major point of tension from September 19th. The White House versus the media.
Yeah, this is a completely different kind of conflict. We're moving from legislative fights to First Amendment issues and regulatory power plays.
And what really jumps out from the source material is the scale of it. President Trump threatening major networks, ABC, NBC, CBS are named, suggesting they could actually lose their broadcast licenses because of negative news coverage. That feels like a huge step.
It's a huge claim, definitely, aimed right at their core business. But what's just as important and fascinating is what happened next. The FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, they put out a statement almost immediately, a clarification.
Okay, what did they say?
They basically said, look, legally, we can't just revoke a network's license because someone in power doesn't like their news coverage. That's not how it works.
So the threat itself makes headlines, creates pressure, but the regulatory body steps in to say, hold on, that's not actually within your power in this way.
Exactly that. The FCC is drawing a line. They regulate how the public airwaves are used, technically speaking, things like public interest obligations, but not the specific political viewpoint of the content itself.
So for you trying to understand this, it's the difference between political rhetoric, maybe designed to intimidate,
and the actual legal framework. The FCC's process for licenses is complicated, involves renewals, reviews, but it doesn't give the White House a button to shut down critical news.
Still, these things don't usually happen in a vacuum. Was there something specific that triggered this threat on that particular day, September 19th?
Yes, the sources are very clear on the timing. This whole flare-up happened right after ABC decided to suspend Jimmy Kimmel.
Suspend Kimmel, why?
It was linked to comments Kimmel made about the killing of Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that adds a whole other dimension. You've got this really tragic, politically charged event, Kirk's death. Then a comedian comments on it. The network takes action internally by suspending him. And then the president steps in, using that specific situation as a basis to threaten the network's license.
Precisely. It links everything together. It connects a specific media controversy, a really sensitive one, straight to the highest level of government pressure. It lets the administration argue, essentially, that the media isn't just biased, but maybe mishandling very serious issues. Whether the FCC can act on that basis or not, the threat itself makes a big political statement.
It absolutely does. Okay, so we've got potential government shutdown looming, a media war heating up, but as you mentioned, president is overseas while this is happening. Let's pivot to the international stage, the UK state visit.
Right. A total change of scene. Sources confirm he's in the UK, doing the whole high-level diplomacy thing.
And the visuals are probably quite grand, right? Royal ceremonies at Windsor Castle, state banquets. It projects stability, the special relationship, all that. Kind of a stark contrast to the budget fight back home.
That contrast is definitely part of the calculation, projecting strength abroad. But beyond the ceremony, the sources tell us about the actual talks. The discussions with UK leaders focused on three specific things: trade, technology, and immigration.
Okay, that combo is interesting. Trade, well, that makes sense, especially post-Brexit, always on the table. Technology that points towards things like AI, 5G, global standards, maybe cybersecurity.
Exactly. Big areas of international cooperation and, frankly, competition these days. National security implications, too.
But adding immigration to that list that feels very specific, very current, suggests a shared political focus, maybe.
I think that's fair to say. Looking at the priorities for both governments around that time, those three topics line up perfectly. Trade talks, obviously ongoing, tech standards are crucial, and immigration. Yeah, that suggests a real shared sense of urgency on border policies, maybe aligning approaches. These aren't just casual chats over tea. These are the key policy areas they're trying to make progress on during this visit.
But that brings us right back to the mess in Washington, doesn't it? The president is trying to negotiate these complex international deals, project American strength.
While back home, his own government is teetering on the edge of a shutdown because lawmakers are playing chicken until September 30th.
It raises a really critical question for you to think about, doesn't it? How much does that looming deadline back home weaken the U.S. negotiating position in the U.K.? Do the British counterparts maybe push a little harder, knowing the U.S. government might be about to grind to a halt?
Yeah. Does domestic instability undermine international clout? That's a constant tension. It really is. The ability to project power abroad often depends on having your house in order at home.
Okay, powerful point. Let's round out this September 19th snapshot with something a bit different. Shifting from high politics to the cultural calendar, the Miss USA pageants.
Yeah, just a quick logistical update here from the sources, but it includes an interesting organizational note.
So what have we got? Dates and location?
Yep. Miss Teen USA is set for October 23rd. And then Miss USA 2025 is the next day, October 24th. Both events are happening in Reno, Nevada.
Reno, okay. And you mentioned an organizational change.
That's right. The sources highlight that the Miss USA organization has a new president and CEO, Tom Brodeur.
A new CEO for a big established event like Miss USA. That usually signals something, right? A change in direction.
It often does, yeah. Especially for an organization like this that's faced, calls to modernize and maybe past controversies. Bringing in a new leader like Brodeur probably suggests a push towards maybe digital strategy, rebranding, trying to boost relevance in today's climate.
So dealing with scrutiny, trying to stay current, his appointment is likely the start of some kind of strategic shift for the pageant world.
Could well be. For anyone tracking cultural institutions or even just business strategy, that appointment noted on September 19th is a signal of changes potentially coming down the line.
Okay, so let's pull it all together. This one day, September 19th, 2025. You've got Congress careening toward the potential shutdown, deliberately waiting until the last minute, September 29th, for the next vote. That's crisis point number one. Then the president, while on a state visit to the UK, negotiating trade, tech, and immigration, is also locked in this escalating conflict with major news networks, triggered by the Kimmel-Kirk situation.
It's a really dense mix, isn't it? Domestic legislative brinksmanship, high-level international diplomacy, and a major media confrontation all happening simultaneously.
So final thought for you to chew on, connecting back to that first crisis point, that September 30th deadline. If the government does shut down, think about the ripple effects. What does that do, practically speaking, to an agency like the SEC?
Yeah, the very agency that just tried to assert its independence from political pressure over media licenses. Could it find its own operations hampered or frozen by a shutdown? Does the failure in Congress indirectly impact the regulatory battle?
That's the kind of interconnectedness you need to watch for. How one crisis can bleed into another. The domino effect.
Keep an eye on those deadlines, and always look for how these different threads might tie together.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into September 19th, 2025.
Until next time.